Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. So let's start the class. So today's topic we have is chemical bonding and molecular structure. I hope it is visible and audible. Good evening, Kiran. Thank you for waiting in line. Waiting. So let's start the class. Actually, the name of the chapter is, what is the name of the chapter? It's a first chapter of inorganic chemistry. And the name of the chapter, full name of the chapter is Chemical Bonding and Molecular Structure. But as the name says, and that means we are dividing this chapter into two parts. One dealing with the bonding, that is chemical bonding, and second half will be dealing with the molecular structure. So let's start with the first part of the chapter known as chemical bonding. That is, so let's talk about the meaning of bonding. Mm, Before we talk about the bonding, just we'll talk about how atoms are existed in nature. Atoms, you say element, or you say chemicals, all referring to same. So in nature there are two types of atoms existed. The one is, some atoms are in free state. Free state means they exist alone, they are not reactive. Okay, that means they are not reactive or non-reactive form. Free state means they're existing alone. Second is, some are in combined state. What do you mean by combined? Combined means they'll not exist alone. They'll always be with some other element. Means combined means that means they are reactive, right? And many of you knows which element exists in free state, which element exists in combined state. Let's talk about that. Examples of the element which exists in free state are, noble gases like helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, all of them exist in free state, and then they are noble gases, right? They're noble gases. And let's talk about the examples which exist in combined state. You will not find hydrogen alone. You will always find hydrogen in the form of H2. You will always find oxygen in the form of O2. You will always find hydrogen in the form of O2. या फिर any other element will be combining with that. But you will not find hydrogen alone, not oxygen, even nitrogen. So these elements exist in combined state. These exist in free state. So there were two scientists known as Quasil and Lewis. Okay, these two scientists were wondering that why this some elements exist in free state, some exist in free combined state. What is the reason behind this? And they finally got to know the reason that if an element, if an element is having 8 electrons in the outermost shell, if the element is having 8 electrons in the outermost shell, the element is said to have less energy. And you know that if the energy is low, and stability will be more, isn't it? That means more stable. So simply remember, energy and stability are always inversely proportional to each other. Hence, if energy is low, stability will be more. That means if an element is having 8 electrons in the outer motion, the element is said to have low energy and more stability. That having 8 electrons in the outermost shell, that configuration, having 8 electrons in the outer motion is also called as octet configuration, because you know that oct in a chemistry refers to 8 electrons, 8, not 8 electrons, 8. So that having 8 electrons in the outer motion is known as configuration. What do you mean by configuration? Arrangement of electrons. Octet means 8. Configuration means electron arrangement. So if an element is said to have octet configuration, that means they are less stable, less energy, more stable. That rule which they have formulated, they means here who? Causal Lewis, right? That rule is known as octet rule. And one more, this that means this is the first statement of octet rule. The first statement is if they have 8, they are having less energy, more stability. And one more statement about this theory, and one more thing, let me tell you that this 8 electron is referring to higher elements, big elements. If the element is lower, the element can even have 2 electrons in the outer motion. You can take the example of helium, right? Helium is a lower element because helium atomic number is 2. Hydrogen, helium, right? Helium, though the atomic as it has atomic number 2, it will not have the 8 electron, right? Hence, for lower elements, if they have 2, that is again called as octet configuration.